And so with that, one of the things that we think about when we talk about our MBA program are the profiles of people from a career standpoint. The MBA has been this degree that's been a catalyst for career transformation for working professionals and aspiring professionals, since the early 1900s. And there have been three kinds of profiles that the programs have been designed around. And so there's the career accelerators, right? And this is kind of the easiest path. Typically, they're part-time or professional MBA students, and they're seeking to make a modest career change, either around one of the dimensions of the career change, industry or function, right? And so you think of this as someone who they might be working in the financial services industry and they want to pivot to tech. They might be finance manager in financial services and they want to pivot to be a financial planning analyst in the tech industry. So that's a modest career change, not a major overhaul. This person typically likes their industry or function. They're satisfied with their job or salary, but the career isn't moving at the desired level of progression. And so they're interested in opportunistically exploring openings that are synergistic and transferable with their current competencies and experiences. Now, career changers, this is a little bit harder. They're seeking to make a significant career change. I'll use myself as an example. I was miscast as an engineer. Uh, People said, you're good at math, you should be an engineer. And no one ever asked me if I liked being an engineer. And so after I got done with engineering school, I was like, okay, how do I find a career that I like? And I wanted to move into management. I had been a student leader. I really enjoyed kind of making and building things. And so I was like, I wanted to be a management consultant. So I left my career as a process engineer and a reliability manager at Procter and Gamble to be a strategy and transformation consultant for Capgemini, right? Now, that's a pretty significant career change. And so typically these are full-time MBA students because, if you think about the 3 degrees of a career change, there's industry, function, and geography. Changing 2 of those is a significant change. And so that's why we talk about you're changing function and industry. But there's a place for that in our programs as well, in our portfolio of programs. Uh, and so most people, they've evolved out their current career. Like for me as a engineer, my dad was an engineer, so he's like, you're going to be an engineer. But as I became a man and figure out what I liked, I was like, I'm not an engineer, I'm a manager, I'm a leader, and I'm going to pursue this route. And then there are kind of entrepreneurs, right? People who see a greater calling for themselves professionally. They're looking for independence. They have a belief in an idea, a now or never mindset, or the notion of a challenge of building something. And they're looking for an MBA to develop confidence, to capitalize on a potentially transformative opportunity. And so when we think about this, the career outcome at the end is how we really focus on the kind of programs that we provide for our students. Oops. Now, this is part of our framework, but we also like to listen to what employers are saying. And so what are they saying today? Just 26% of employers today are saying they need today artificial intelligence. And so that's a little bit different from what, is in the popular press and that kind of thing. It's not the highest rated skill for today, but tomorrow it's kind of off the charts and moving up fast, right? And so being in technically oriented roles or having exposure to technical skill sets is going to benefit the worker of tomorrow. And this is kind of with the world moving so fast and the half-life of a learned skill being about, 2 years now, people who are trying to prepare for what's needed in the future need to think about those technical skills. That said, both today and tomorrow, what we're seeing is that while the technical skills do matter, and I'll show you some survey data later, high value add human skills such as problem solving and strategic thinking and adaptability are still in demand, and they're only amplified by artificial intelligence technology. And those skills will continue to remain durable. This is still where I think humans excel. Employers are still bullish on graduate management education. What they say is that, in a recent survey from the Graduate Management Admissions Council, done in tandem with the MBA Career Services and Employer Alliance, 68% of employees say graduate management education and MBAs help you get promoted, to the upper levels. And 70% say those degrees are typically predictive of higher earning potential. For those of you all who are on the call who are international, U.S. employers, despite all the noise that may be going on about the opportunity here and the friendliness of this environment, employers are still always willing to hire international talent. The way that you have to do it, and I've been in this business for 20 years, it's always changed. So there's always been this kind of up and down with visas and access to market, but there's still opportunities here. And I've had a chance to work abroad for the last 10 years in Asia, and there's really no labor market like the United States. So this survey right here came from GMAC's 2024 survey. It looked at the most important current skills versus the most important future skills. And what we found interesting here, and as we thought about how we design and build our programs, is at the top of current and future skills is still problem solving and strategic thinking. But what you see quickly happening for the future, technology and IT skills, AI skills, going up the charts really, really fast. But then also things like grit and ability to persevere in these really dynamic and uncertain times are things that people are looking for more and more in the interview process. AI is becoming more central to what employers are looking. They're thinking about them in terms of high value add skills. So using AI to really amplify the human, to acquire knowledge and new business skills to kind of self-train and stay relevant, but also to use AI to amplify the strength and scale of the developing strategy and making the decision-making process and conducting research. So we've taken these considerations, when we think about, we still want to be centered on problem solving and strategic thinking, but we want to pair those with technology and AI, because we think that's going to be a priority in the future. So, in the research that I've done in the past, I've looked at like economic shocks over time. And this is from data that it was through 2020. So I haven't had a chance to update it since COVID, and I need to do that. But this looks at the Financial Times salary data over the last, from 1999 through 2020, right? And it looks at the curve for salary. And if you see those blue areas, the first one was after the dot-com bust. The second one was after the 2008 financial crisis. And while the MBA is, you always hear these rumors of the demise of the MBA. If you see the curve, it's always still pretty strong, right? And so, and particularly in the US, which is the blue line, the rate of growth is fastest, compared to international schools. And this is the salaries 3 years after graduation. So the market is always still resilient. And sometimes people try to outthink the room when it comes to the MBA, but there's no greater tool for career transformation than this, right? I call the MBA the Swiss Army knife of graduate degrees. And it can help you kind of do anything and work in any industry. Now, the prior slides were just kind of context for how we're thinking about the Bentley value add. And for us here at Bentley, we're trying to enhance that employability and long-term promotability for career growth. And so what we see here on this curve is that, and from some of the research that I've done, like my research focuses on employability, the typical salary pre-pandemic increases were 3% for the broader workforce. But what we see for the MBA is that there's an additional 2 to 4% salary increase growth per year, all right? And what we've tried to design like our programs around, so take our working professionals program, for instance, we want to have 50% of our students be promoted while they're in the program. We hope those promotions and the career progression while in the program result in a 15 to 25% entering exiting salary differential. And then we want to think about the curve of 50% of people getting promoted within 3 years of graduation. And now the chart on the right, it's kind of complicated, right? And so the turquoise chart represents the post-MBA salary curve, right? And so for people, if you look at the dotted line, right, that's a working professional pre-MBA salary curve. If you look at the solid blue, dark blue line, that's the pre-MBA, um, you know, uh, you know, pre-MBA, full-time MBA curve. And that turquoise line represents that growth that you get by switching to the MBA salary curve over time, taking into account that incremental 2 to 4% jumps from promotions and things like that. So a lot of times people ask, well, is it worth it? And it's absolutely worth it if you think about this conceptual illustration here. Now, Bentley, we've had this reputation as an institution to be being really well aligned with the market because we're a business university. And in order to stay ahead of the market, we have STEM designated programs and coursework within our MBA. We've got 4 majors there, one in accounting analytics, one in business analytics, one in financial analytics, and one in information systems and technology. And we're in the process of potentially getting an artificial intelligence STEM path approved. And so stay tuned for us. We're hoping to get that out the door in the coming year as well for those of you guys who are looking further in the future. The other thing that we want to take advantage of is our environment, right? And so we're focused on placement in 3 major industries: technology, right, financial services, and health and life sciences. And so if you know anything about Boston, Boston is the world's tech and life sciences hub. We actually, it's the world's health and life sciences hub. So yesterday we just had an AI and healthcare symposium where we had 300 people attend from all over the world, and we have a Center for Health and Business, so we're very adjacent, to health. We also in life sciences, we also have a center for the integration of science and industry that focuses on life sciences research. Technology-wise, as an institution, our largest faculty is actually our computer information systems faculty. And so we're not like our technology expertise is not necessarily underneath the hood or inside the black box. It's really about technology for the application of business transformation and impact, right? And that's what we do well here at Bentley. Our legacy as a school has been, initially we started as an accounting and finance school, and so that naturally put a lot of our students and alum in the financial services industry. So we have tremendous presence there in that industry here in Boston, and then also in New York. Boston's a leading talent hub. It's a leading talent hub in the American market without a peer. The market treats premium graduate management talent as an investment. As a school with so many higher education institutions, salaries tend to be elevated because of the appreciation of people's capability. And, Boston is a tech and innovation destination, right? And so these are all the reasons that make this place appealing. Our faculty, has great range. We have world-class centers. I talked about the Center for Health and Business. We have a Center for Analytics and Data Science. We have the Center for the Integration of Science and Industry. We have the Center for Women in Business. We have the Janine Institute for Corporate Governance. So we have expertise across a range of different disciplines. And so these are the things that, when we think about the subjects in the field and how we position ourselves, are central to our strategy. Now, this schematic here talks about the different options that we have in an MBA program, and it's targeted towards experienced professionals. And our programs, we're typically looking for 2 years of work experience. That's preferred. Now, if there are exceptional cases and someone has less than that, we will consider you. But one of the things I try to give people guidance on is that wherever you're deficient in your application, you have to compensate somewhere else in the application, right? And so having 0 years of work experience can potentially impact you from a scholarship perspective. So I'm going to go from left to right, your left to right. We have a full-time MBA program. It's designed around that career changer. You can take 24 to 60 months to complete it. All the courses are online, or you can do in-person elements to it. We have a range of your kind of traditional business concentrations like finance, marketing, strategy. But then last year, we recently launched a STEM-oriented MBA, and that's really focused on tech-oriented career changers who maybe do this from a full-time perspective, who are looking to complete it in 24 months. And then it could be a tech-oriented career accelerator, right? And so maybe someone already works in the tech industry as a business developer, but they want to move and become a product manager. All right. And so we have, for this STEM MBA path, you can do from 18 to 60 months. We have majors in the accounting analytics, financial analytics, information systems, and technology. So that's a little bit different than the traditional MBA programs. We also have a part-time MBA and accelerated online MBA, which is for the career accelerator. The people who typically choose this type of program typically have a tuition remission policy, or they just want to take one or two courses at a time. They need ultimate flexibility. And so that's what this program is about. It has the same concentration options as a full-time MBA program with your traditional business disciplines. But then this year, we recently launched our professional MBA program. And we're still taking applications for superstars, 5+ years of experience. These are career accelerators. The average experience of the people we've admitted so far has been around 10 years of work experience. It's 100% online, except for there are 2 on-campus weekend immersions per semester. We have these focus areas, which are light concentrations that are interdisciplinary in nature. So financial analytics, global management, innovation design, which is an emerging trend for a lot of managers, sustainable organizations, data analytics, and strategic leadership. And we've just recently launched our health MBA program that we're doing in partnership with our partner, Beth Israel. We have an open cohort for it for people who are health career accelerators. Maybe you're a practitioner like a nurse, a pharmacist, or doctor who's trying to better cope with the kind of administrative challenges of your organization. It's online only. It's a cohort-based program, and it's only 24 months, and the focus is health. What makes this program really special is that it was built with health examples in all the core courses as well as the electives, right? Which a lot of times for these health kind of MBA programs, the health is kind of bolted on at the end in electives and not your core classes with health-oriented examples. And so we're really excited about this. Our graduate programs have a range of concentrations, and everything is online enabled for ultimate flexibility for a working professional. For international students who are on the call, typically they're either in our full-time regular MBA or our STEM full-time MBA. So lots of options for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A or chat. The thing that I think stands out about Bentley, and sometimes we kind of sell ourselves short, we think about ourselves as a small university, but we're actually we're a business university. And so who we directly compete against are actually business schools. And so one day I was, I went to Rice University and got my MBA, and I got their alumni magazine, and they were talking about the research of the faculty. And look, Rice is my alma mater. It's amazing. But they only had 65 faculty, right? Bentley, we have 300 faculty who are dedicated to business across a range of different disciplines, right? So Iris Bergeron, she is the program director. Her work focuses on cross-cultural management, sustainable leadership, international business. And also, she's a curriculum expert. So teaching and making sure there's learning impact in the classroom is a big passion of hers. Andy Aylesworth is a creativity, advertising, and integrated marketing guru. But then we have Jennifer Zhu. She is a rock star focused on artificial intelligence, business analytics, data visualization, and human-computer interaction. Then we have Amit, who, while he's not a computer information systems faculty member like Jennifer, in accounting, he does advanced financial accounting, and he uses AI tools in there. And so we have him doing an executive education program with one of our corporate partners in the GCC or the Middle East about how to use artificial intelligence in order to do financial statement analysis that will help you kind of identify opportunities in deal making, right? And so these are the kind of faculty that we have here at Bentley University. Other things that stand out about us is we have a fantastic alumni base, 67,000 alumni globally. In the Wall Street Journal Best Colleges in the US, we're the 11th ranked school. We've been noted as the first most innovative school in US news. And then I talked about earlier, we have 5 format options for whatever profile you're looking for. So for us, one of the things we talk about is it's just good business. And if you look at our alums, they're all doing cool things. So Shu Simon is a rock star. She graduated from our MBA program in 2050. She 15, sorry. She had a PhD from MIT in biophysical chemistry, and she came to Bentley to kind of bridge the gap between science and decision making and entrepreneurship. So after working in government diplomacy, she's a good example of a career accelerator. She recognized there was a need to kind of translate the work she had done in science into actionable business solutions. And with that, she moved to a company where she became the COO of Enzo Technologies. They are aligning, they're kind of like a sustainable life sciences company. And so they have a solution that kind of removes carbon from the air. And then, her MBA had taught her how to bring and commercialize that technical expertise into business solutions. And so she's an example of our rock star alumni. On this slide, we have students who have come from various different routes in the MBA. So Dennis, he came to the MBA in the part-time MBA program. He started at United Technologies and then moved to Thermo Fisher Scientific to be a finance manager. Mary Casey was looking for a really flexible program like our accelerated online MBA. And so she did that from New York, and she started in a marketing communication specialist role, and then she founded her own firm. Jamila Alou came from Brussels, right? So our international students came from Europe. Prior to the degree, she was working at AXA as an actuary. She wound up working at, Liberty Mutual, coming here as a more advanced actuary. And then Samantha Hill is in our healthcare MBA program, and she's going through it now, but it's had a tremendous impact on her. She's kind of taken on more responsibilities as she's gone through the program. And so the impact is clear. Some people after the program, some people who are still in the program. So now, some of the things that we try to provide along the way is, the career support is a fundamental thing in the program. And what we try to do with all of our students is, take them through this career curriculum where you think about the choice. We go through self-reflection, discovery, and identify like target industry, function, and location. And then we, help you, think about the story crafting to kind of pivot in your career journey. And so what's the why for you? What are the specific roles that may resonate with you? And then what is your unique selling proposition? When we figure all that out, we want to customize your LinkedIn profile, your resume, and your cover letter to incorporate this new, elevator pitch. And when you have that down, it's all about the searching and networking. So today at lunch, I was sitting with someone, one of our students, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, I've applied for jobs. Easy apply on LinkedIn." And I always tell people, easy apply means easy fail, right? And I'm a big believer in the network-based job search, right? If I think about all the roles that I've gotten, and I've worked all over the world, it's always been through a human connection, right? And so I have this axiom that I tell people: there's a one-letter difference between networking and not working, right? And we have this, framework that we train people on called the seed, 10, harvest networking model. And so the seed is about creating these, identifying relationships. The tending is about managing those relationships and building advocacy. And then the harvest is about, leveraging those relationships if the right opportunity comes up with you, for you, right? And as part of that, process, you also have to keep abreast what's going on in the industry and current developments. so that you can leverage this network that you create. Then after you've kind of developed this network, we're all about the preparation for the interviews, and then we help you negotiate to make sure you maximize your return on investment. And so if you come here to Bentley, you can be sure that you'll get this kind of support. And we want to help kind of walk you through that process. We also have, career core tools that are similar to many top schools. VMOC is an AI interview platform. We do things like Career Leader, which is a career assessment that identifies your motivation, interests, and skills, and what might be the best industry fit for you. And this kind of serves as the basis of the career coaching. We also have tools like, LinkedIn Learning, the Vault, and other things that will help you prepare. So you'll never be at a shortage of resources. And then, we have a ton of signature events. We have our Career Success Summit and conversations with those 67,000 alumni that we've talked to. And so it's a well-resourced place and highly professional as an institution. And so with that, these are the things that we bring to the table for whatever path you're choosing. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sean Conelly, and he's going to talk about the admission steps. And I'll rudely interrupt if I think there's something else that might, support what Sean is saying. So with that, I'm turning it over to you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. And yeah, so if you are interested in Bentley and our MBA program, so with the application, so I did see, as I was going through some of you that signed up for this this webinar is that, talking about application and the application fees. And just so you know, at this time, right now, the application is free to do. So we would just need to submit the application with your resume and add in your LinkedIn profile. We want to see everything in terms of your career aspirations and things that you have done in the past. We do need your transcript from your bachelor's degree. If you are coming from outside of the United States, or if you did go to school outside of the United States, we do require a transcript evaluation, a course by course transcript evaluation to be done. With that, we do have one letter of recommendation. We require one essay and do know that there is an optional personal statement to go with that. And then we do require whether it's the TOEFL, Duolingo, or the IELTS for the English language test. And then usually a big question we get is about the GRE and the GMAT. We are test optional. While we are test optional, do know that this is something that can go into your application and boost your application. So if you are considering it, do know that it does is considered if you do provide that for us, whether it's the GRE or the GMAT. But these are all the things. What's that?
Can I add something real quick to that?
Please do.
So for a lot of us, the test scores, while they're optional, they, like Sean is saying, they can help you. And so what we do is we look at the school, and say you live in Ghana and your school is on the QS list, or it's on the Times Higher Ed list, or it's on the national top whatever list, this helps us, right? But if we don't have enough information on your school, the test score kind of really elevates you, right? And so there have been people that we hadn't been really sure about the school. And if we didn't have the test score, the scholarship might have been materially less. But because of the test score, and it didn't even have to be that strong of a test score, but it gave us certainty that you had kind of the fundamentals to be successful here. So just something to think about.
So is that, like, for instance, I said about the transcript, the bachelor's degree. If you have more education, if you have more that you can provide, whether it's through different credentials, we request that you send them in, because it can only boost your application. So if you did have any type of other degree or other certificates or anything like that, please do feel free to add those to your application. And then lastly, I did want to just mention that we do have, for our full-time, whether it's STEM or our full-time MBA, there is an interview as well for those programs. And so on to the next one, which will be about when to apply. So right now we're in the rolling admission stage for fall of 2025. So obviously the big question here is there still time? And the answer is yes, there is still time. With rolling admissions means that we're getting applications daily. And it means that we are making decisions. When we get a full application, we go right to work in terms of the committee reviewing your application once we get all your documentation. So apply at any time. And once we get everything in, we get to work in terms of the committee reviewing your application. Obviously, the earlier the app, the better, especially when it comes to being ready for the start term that you're looking for. Obviously, you want to be more steady and ready to go when it comes to, we're getting into May tomorrow and it feels like September is just the next day. So it's coming up, but there is still time. Now, I did want to make sure that it was understood when kind of the deadlines are, with the international deadline being June 1st and then domestic being August 1st. So how to apply? It is on our website. And so you just go to our website and use our admissions portal to apply. And when we review your application, what is taken into consideration? We do look at your application holistically. Every application is different. There's no comparing one to the other. We are taking into consideration your academic background, also your professional experience. So you do want to put on your resume, and talking about, when I've talked to students, you do want to make sure you're putting on your resume geared towards your experience and how it can help in terms of into the business field. Leadership potential as well. The MBA is big on leadership. So if you do have leadership experience, that is something that you want to add on there. And then program fit. And that's where, letter of recommendation, essay, talk. And the essay is prompted. So it does ask you a specific question regarding your experience. So you just want to make sure you're answering that question, and it helps us get an idea of your fit. So that is how the committee reviews your application. Again, your application is unique to you. It's not compared to other people. So that's just something you want to put everything in the application that you can to make your application look the best. So we do provide 85% of our students do receive some form of merit aid from us on the application. It just asks you a simple question. It says, do you want to be considered for merit aid? And you just say yes to that question. And then when we review your application, it's kind of the same way the application is reviewed in terms of an admission, we're reviewing the same information to determine scholarship potential. The other thing that you will be asked on the application is whether or not you'd like to be considered for a graduate assistantship. So that is another form of tuition remission that you could receive. And so the other thing that you can take a look into, and as you'll see in the bottom there are full and partial merit-based scholarships available. We do have partnerships that you can actually see on our website, which I'm going to put in the chat. If you go to that page, it'll actually show under the Dean's Leadership Scholarship, it'll show you what partnerships we have, in which we have full and partial merit scholarships possibly available to you if you're members of those partnerships. There's also other ways to fund your education. The biggest one is tuition reimbursement with your employer. So if you haven't had that conversation with your employer yet, do, because some of them, they do have ways to help you to pay for your education. You do want to make sure that they have it, what ways that what you got to do to get it. And then also you got to make sure that Bentley is within the scope of what they offer. And then there are grants and loans that you can apply for through the financial aid office. But there are ways for you to finance your education, not only with Bentley, but outside of Bentley as well. And then if you're not quite ready or not sure about tackling a master's degree at this point, so you can look into our executive and professional education opportunities. So, for instance, like the Leadership Accelerator, this is a great way to determine your leadership style. So getting training in the classroom as well as some one-on-one coaching. So it's really kind of a little bit of getting your feet wet in terms of, from a leadership standpoint. And then there's also the Essentials in Management Mini MBA. So this is a certificate program, which again gives you that way of just getting some experience within Bentley to just see if to broaden your business expertise in a way and give you a little taste of the MBA before you fully commit to that. So both of these options are great. You can actually learn more about these two, as well as other certificate or even executive professional opportunities. And actually on the next slide, there's going to be some QR codes. That first one, if you actually scan that QR code, it will take you to where there's other opportunities. Those are just a couple that I mentioned. And then here in the next ones, you can actually talk to a current student ambassador. So if you want to talk to a current student and learn about their experience, you can do that. We also have admission consultations. So if you want to meet one-on-one with myself or any of my team, you can do that and just get more of a feel for your background, as well as, the official process here. And then, as you know, with all of our socials, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram. Can find us all over. I even see some stuff as you're going through, like YouTube and stuff like that. So do feel free to find us on social media, as we are always giving out information and sharing some stories about Bentley, about our alumni. So a great way to stay connected. And
Well,
so, well, and then,
let's-
Sean, I have I did receive a question, and I'm curious what, when it comes to what we look for in terms of an application is, especially somebody who has a lot of experience and maybe was a struggle in their early education days. How much weight does that put onto an application? Is there a weight given to any given
yeah, I
uh,
think the thing that we want to be as an institution, Sean, is we want to serve our corporate partners, right? And provide people who are best positioned to deliver to our employers, be promotable, make an impact, that kind of thing. And so we rely more on grades when we don't have other data points, right? So, and if you're younger and you have 0 or 1 year or 2 years of experience, then we have to really look at grades because that's all we have. But if you've got 10 years of experience, right, your experience kind of is a more important to us as a predictor, right? Because if you've had success in the workplace, we think that, predicts to that. Now, you do have to still have strong grades, but they're also, you know, sometimes what we see typically here is sometimes an engineer might have a half point lower GPA than someone who was a political science major, right? But maybe they, had the same GMAT score, right? And so we take into account the rigor of your program and that kind of thing in order to assess. So I wouldn't assume that grades rule you out. I think, one of the things you can do if you've had, if you didn't do as well as you would have liked to, it would have been it'd be great for you to kind of include a supplemental essay, provide context on your university and your environment. Um, you know, is you're in the top technical school in your country and that kind of thing is all helpful information for us to kind of contextualize who you are and the kind of person that you are. So
and say, you know, that, and then you talked about the scores, the GMAT, the GRE, that's a great way to boost and show that there's growth there. Um, so yeah, there's definitely some opportunities. And by the way, there's always room for conversation. There's an interview process. There is that optional statement, and then we are always willing to have a conversation. So, don't feel that you can't get in touch with us to explain your situation. That's the key, because things happen, and then now you have years of experience. So that's why every application is different. So no, I agree with that. Would you have any, especially, you've been at Bentley for quite a bit, and I'm curious if you would have any, like, what advice would you have to anybody that's looking to take their next steps?
Well, so I think I'm a big fan. You mentioned earlier LinkedIn, right? And so one of the things, like in our process, we ask for LinkedIn or a resume because LinkedIn has almost become your virtual resume, and it's a great proxy for your ability to kind of articulate to the world who you are as a professional, right? And so So when I think about people, I'm like, invest some time in your LinkedIn profile because that's another data point that can tell a story. And so like, and I've seen this when we've tried to evaluate people for scholarship, if they only give us their resume, then I'm still curious about their LinkedIn. But if they only give me their LinkedIn, I'm fine, right?
Just keep
So
it updated. That's the big thing. It's keeping
exactly.
the LinkedIn updated and with your not only what you're currently doing and making sure you're continuing to update it as you grow. No, that's great. And I would say, the next one of the other questions that came up, and these were questions that came up as they were signing up for the session as well. Somebody asked about spring. Just know that we do have a fall and spring intake. So whether if fall's not, if I know it's still a few months away, but do know that we do bring in students in the spring as well. So there's not just the fall recruitment. So there is a spring term as well.
So, and then one thing I'll add about the spring term, it works well. There's two profiles of students. It's international students who apply a little bit later or have visa issues, and then you can come in during the spring and so sometimes maybe you defer from the fall to the spring and you can still get in that same year. But then it's real also works really well for working professionals who are just looking to start relatively quickly, right? And so that's one of the things to consider. We our part-time MBA and our full-time MBA programs are super flexible for the different start times. The professional MBA, which is the cohort-based MBA, only has one start time, and that's in the fall. Same with our health MBA as well. So if you're looking for ultimate flexibility and that's your priority, we would say the part-time MBA or the full-time MBA. And then, if you're looking for a cohorted experience, it's the professional MBA or the health MBA. So it looks like Nick McCarrick has a question about the STEM concentration. And yeah, so we have, multiple STEM concentrations. We're looking at launching more. And, we have one on the books for AI, and it's not hard to change between concentrations.
It's all based on the electives that
Yeah.
are the electives that you take. So when you apply, and because the way the program is broken down, when you get to the electives, that's kind of how it determines which concentration you choose. Awesome. I don't see any other questions. I will say that if you do think of any questions after today, you can reach out to us at through email. I'm going to put my email in the chat, and I'm also going to put the our office email in the chat. So if you do have questions and want to have further discussion, you can. And then looking forward to talking more with you. Oh, looks like somebody does have a question as well.
Jennifer,
Jennifer, if you'd like to share your question.
I don't think she can verbally share in webinar mode, right? I think it has to
Well,
be
let me
through the
see.
Q&A.
Let me see. I just brought her in to see if she wanted to. Jennifer, if you wanted to ask your question, you can.
Just unmute
Or she
yourself.
may have raised her hand by accident. We'll give her a minute, and then but I do want to take a minute to thank you all for taking some time out of your day, your evening to spend some time with us and learn more about the MBA. I look forward to seeing your names again as you go and take this next step in your journey. And yeah, I think that's going to be the case.
Well, just hit Sean up, Jennifer, at his email, and he'll
Yes,
take
please
care of it.
do. Please do. We're always here to help. That's the main thing, is that we're always here to help and guide you through this process. So do not hesitate to reach out to us if you do think of any questions after today. Awesome. Well, Sean, I really appreciate your time and appreciate your sharing your stories and also giving more information about this program. Again, if you think of any questions, let us know. But everybody have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks all.